Okay, so for this video, we're going to talk about some of the best ways of learning anatomy. We're also going to start talking about you and your palpation journal. And actually, I might more prefer that you just create an assignment journal instead of just calling it a palpation journal. Anyways, you can have separate journals, have an assignment journal and a palpation journal, or mix them all into one. It's up to you. So the best ways I found to learn anatomy, and honestly, I was one of the few, I remembered anatomy a lot better than many of my peers did in class, and I decided it was because I really was going over it in my head as I worked in the student clinic. So every time I'm working on a muscle, you know, I'm thinking about, okay, right now I'm working the trapezius muscle. Here's its origin and insertion points, and these are the actions of the trapezius. So I was always running through it in my head. And, you know, one of my instructors taught me that muscles get tightest at their attachment. So if you only have a couple minutes, you should work the attachment points more than anything of a muscle. So I wanted to make sure, like, I always follow the muscles like out to its attachments. And then of course the trapezius attaches, you know, up here at the base of the neck, all the way out here through the shoulders. So I'm trying to follow it all the way out to its attachments. So here, we're gonna learn this later, but this bony landmark, of course, is called the acromion, which you learn the acromial region. But, you know, so right now you just know regions, you know actions. So I might be like, okay, I'm massaging the acromial region right now, just to start learning them. And of course, some regions are gonna be really easy. Some bones are really easy to remember and others are gonna be difficult for you. But if you're constantly just repeating them to yourself as you're working, you're going to remember them a lot easier. And it's not just gonna be like memorizing anatomy to pass the test. It's gonna be like you incorporated it into your life and you actually know it. There's a difference between learning it for a test and understanding and knowing it. So if you do that, you actually become like, it is just second nature to you. It is something that you actually know, you understand, and you didn't just like learn it to, you know, expunge it on the test and then forget it all. So that's one of the big differences between therapists, I think, because some actually just memorized it for the test and never looked back on it again, and you tried to talk to them about anatomy, they can't do it. So I really hope you don't end up being one of those therapists. I would like you to be able to hold conversations about anatomy if clients start asking you. You know, because there's some clients that want to feel like they're having a more technical conversation with you than just a layperson. So they might use anatomical terms, and it's not just like, some of them have taken anatomy classes, so they want to test what they remember. They want to use their knowledge and finally have somebody they can use it with, or so they think, and then once it turns out you don't really know any anatomy, they lose faith in you as a massage therapist as well. So it's just a good idea if you can actually hold conversations when referring to anatomy and actually know and understand it. It makes a big difference, and people will feel the difference too. Your clients will anyways. So like I said, it's really hard to just do it all day long, every day, but choose like a couple hours. Okay, for the next 2 hours, or I'm gonna do this, for at least my next 2 clients in the student clinic, I am going to do this technique, like where I just repeat all the anatomy I've learned to myself as I'm working. Also, just find ways of using it in conversations. And even if you end up sounding stupid with your friends, explain to them what you're doing. Just be like, oh, I'm taking anatomy, I'm trying to help myself remember things. So that's why, because, you know, you don't want to really feel like you're talking down to your friends, and some people might take it that way. But if you explain, hey, I'm taking an anatomy class, so that's why I'm just trying to mention the terms that I'm learning just so I can remember them, they're a lot more understanding, and they don't feel like you're just trying to act smart and act like they're dumb. So just find ways to incorporate it into your life. Repetition really is key. I'm making flashcards for you guys. Go over the flashcards, okay? And then also for your journal, so you're supposed to start a palpation journal. And in our anatomy book, Trail Guide to the Body, it talks about starting this palpation journal if you read the front pages, which I know a lot of you probably just skipped over and didn't bother to read. But if you read them, it would talk about starting a palpation journal. So for everything you learn, like every action you learn, or like, okay, so we learned actions of the body, or just the few actions we did learn. We didn't learn all of them. Palpate those movements on 3 people. So like just rotation of the shoulder. Put your hand here and just with your friends, your boyfriend, husband, wife, whatever, your spouse, or any friend, a child even, it's good to do this on different people at different ages. So just feel what this action feels like in the shoulder joint. And of course, you're gonna feel like a lot of difference because some people who have had a shoulder injury, they might catch. So it doesn't just have this smooth action. You'll feel like a catching somewhere. And you're like, huh, that's kind of strange. I didn't feel that in the last person. Some people that pull their shoulder out of joint a lot might have scar tissue buildup. And so it'll just feel different to you. Or if they've had a shoulder replacement surgery, it's gonna feel a lot different, but just start feeling what that feels like on different people. So like I said, it can be a child, a grandchild, a friend's child, it can be your friends, it can be old to young, and you do want to select a variety. You don't want it to always be the same type of person, the same like people in their 40s or 20s, and that's all you do. You want to like do it on a grandparent that's elderly and a child that's 5, just so you can see the difference of like how the body, what happens when the body's aging, how it loses, you know, like the cushioning and the cartilage and the joint, and then you can just feel it kind of bone grinding against each other a little bit more in the older population. So it's just interesting to observe the difference, and you want to put that in your palpation journal. So put exactly like what you were palpating. So like actions learned in lesson 1 or whatever lesson we were on. It's like anatomy 1 anyways. So and then just write the name of the person that you're palpating and a few observations, like the action occurred very smoothly. I didn't notice anything. If you notice like there was glitches or catching, like, the joint seemed to kind of catch and then it went all the way into the full range of motion, or this person couldn't seem to do full range of motion and then they told me that they had a shoulder injury that prevented them from being able to do that. But you also want to do like flexion and extension, and of course flexion can go like all the way up here, but not everybody's going to be able to do that if they've had a shoulder injury. So you're just going to start making little notes. Write at least 3 notes for each person, and for like the actions of the body, you want 3 different people to palpate, and write at least 3 observations on each person that you noticed. They can be short, long, however you want. It can be like 1 sentence. Action occurred smoothly. Talk about texture, movement, ease of movement with the joint. So you can talk about what you observed visually and what you felt by touching and how it differed maybe. So like if you ask them just to perform this action on their own, just by watching, this is what you thought. Then when you felt it, you felt something completely different. So it's just you trying to start paying attention to what you're feeling for when you're doing massages. And also as we get into it, like when we start learning the bony landmarks, I'm gonna have you palpate to feel for the bony landmarks. You know, here's the sternum, this is called the manubrium, the top part of the sternum. You're gonna feel for that, and there's gonna be like people I'm gonna want you to palpate. Like I'll be like, find people to palpate and write it into your palpation journal. Same thing with muscles and their attachments and things like that. So as we go, like this journal might get pretty huge by the end because there is a lot of anatomy, and you're going to be doing this all year long. So, and I don't care if it's like a regular spiral journal that you just do, or you can get a big binder. So also we're going to get assignments periodically throughout the class. So what I was saying, like I'm gonna tell you with like some of the massage techniques, I might be like, okay, look up 2 YouTube videos on Swedish massage. I'm gonna want you to write in your assignment journal which videos you watched and a little paragraph about each one. What you learned, what you liked, what you didn't like, things like that. So if you want to combine the palpation and the assignment journal, you can. With the assignment journal, if you get just a spiral notebook, then it's gonna be all mixed in. So you might wanna get like these little flags, tabs. I like these. These are actually the small ones. I usually use the little bit bigger ones, like the square inch ones. So anyways, just like for palpation, that one can always be purple. So that way you know that page is a palpation page. And then for the assignments, or you can give like each course, like massage techniques versus massage theory, give them a different color. So that way when you're flipping through, you know like, oh, okay, this one's a massage theory assignment. Let me see, that's what I'm looking for. It's a little bit more complicated. Or You can just use regular sticky notes too. Sometimes I'll just stick these on a page. And here's my huge binder. I have a huge one just because I'm gonna keep a lot more than you guys will. But just put that like on the page, like we'll pretend like I have a page in there even though I don't. And then right at the top of it. So a lot of times I just use regular sticky notes to keep notes on, or to kind of remind myself what this section is. Or you can of course get the divider tabs, but I would also get like either little sticky notes or flags so I can make little notations as far as like I might even, if I have divider tabs, I might even on my little flags, like these little things, put like actions or trapezius, whatever I was palpating, so I remember that section. So, and then this way you can keep them separate as far as assignments versus your palpation journals. So you can have like one divider just for palpation. You can have one for massage techniques, one for massage theory, one for pathology, whatever you want. And then that way they're just, you have all the classes separated out. And then you can just put little flags or sticky notes on them to remind yourself what exactly that assignment was on, and then you don't have to flip through all of them looking for it. So, okay, so we talked about how you're gonna start the palpation journal and your assignment journal, and then also how to just start adding anatomy into your life so that it sticks with you, right? I really want you guys to just understand it and know it and not just memorize terms. Even though right now it feels like you're learning a whole new language, it's just a bunch of terms they're throwing at you and they don't make sense. They will if you start using them, if you find ways to use them in a sentence. And like I mentioned in one class with the directional terms, if you just concentrate on like, okay, today I'm going to concentrate on the term proximal. So I'm going to use proximal wherever I can in a sentence today. And if there is like a term you're having trouble remembering, like other terms will come to you easily, and others you're like, why can't I keep that term in my mind? It just will not stay there. Like my mind does not want to remember that one. Focus on that one then. You want to focus on the ones that are hard for you, like the easy ones, they're easy. So if you're having a hard time remembering the term proximal, be like, okay, wherever I can today, I'm going to use proximal in a sentence. I'm going to talk to my clients about what proximal means, or to my friends, so it sticks with me. Like it'll stay with you more if you talk about it, if you incorporate it into your wording. And so then of course I'm doing the flashcards. Make sure you go over those. It is a lot of repetition. And even though I'm telling you, use it in conversation, use it in your sentences so it actually makes more sense to you, I also want you to memorize. Like it's both. So you're gonna do repetition, you're gonna do the memorization, but then in order to get the crossover between just memorized words to understanding them, that involves using it in conversation and trying to come up with sentences that involve those terms. Okay, so if you have any questions, just let me know in class, or, you know, text me, email me, whatever works, send a carrier pigeon, and we'll talk about whatever you're having a hard time with, or what is not making sense to you, what you're having a hard time remembering, and we'll figure out why or what might help. We'll come up with a solution together, okay? All right, and also I was gonna talk a little bit, which I left in the other room. So there's an anatomy coloring book I told you that you could buy. So I also might have you just like either tear out pages, or if I get creative and draw a little thing that I want you to color in, we'll also add those into our assignment journal. So just things like that, or maybe sometimes drawing things, and I'm a terrible drawer, but if you try to draw things, that also helps it stick in your memory a little bit better too. So just whatever you're having a hard time with, if you're having a hard time remembering like the radius bone, try drawing a radius bone a few times, you know, and then coloring it, because for some reason the act of coloring, it uses a different part of your brain, and it's just one more way to help it stick with you. So that's another thing. I might have you either draw or color and add that to your assignment journal. I might have you do little research assignments or write paragraphs on this or that. Those will become part of your assignment journal. So there's going to be quite a few assignments throughout. Hopefully they won't be too long and boring. I'll try to keep them fairly short. Of course, anatomy, there's just no way around it. It is somewhat long and tedious. Sorry about that. But like I said, if you have any questions, if you're struggling with something, just let me know and we'll work through it and figure it out together, okay? All right, so I will see you in class.